We're live.
Hi everyone, welcome to this Educate, Inspire, Change Facebook live podcast with myself, Kash Khan, and with Samuel Austin, the founder of Live, Learn, Evolve. Today we just wanted to come on to chat a little bit about what we've been working on for the last 12 months. We've both been working on our own documentaries related to ayahuasca and plant medicine, and we've set this podcast up today, so we're going to show you a couple of trailers, get your comments, and just have a bit of a live Q&A on the documentaries on ayahuasca and plant medicine, and just vibe back and forth and chat to each other about our inspirations behind the documentary, our hopes for the future of the documentaries, and what lies ahead for both of us as well on a personal and on a kind of conscious creation level.
Yeah, no, it sounds good.
Awesome. So for those of you that don't know, some of you may know, because we've been doing a couple of lives in the last couple of weeks. Me and Sam met for the first time at an ayahuasca retreat around 2 years ago. And ever since then, we've just been following our intuition, following our path, and being much more creative and creating podcasts, doing live documentaries, really kind of getting into the art of filmmaking and speaking with the purpose of trying to educate and inspire the people viewing to understand more about plant medicine, psychedelics, healing, meditation, yoga, breathwork, all these different healing modalities that we both feel so passionate about. So I guess we should kick off just by talking about perhaps how ayahuasca helped us to both overcome our original fears of public speaking, perhaps when we lacked the confidence to create projects of our own, and how that helped us in overcoming those fears, and how other people out there could perhaps use plant medicine as a catalyst to overcome fear and to inspire growth and encourage creativity.
Yeah, well, it seems that there's a pattern in the medicine for basically anyone who is drinking it, and that's in it calling you forward to step into 100% vulnerability, I guess, and vulnerable authenticity. Like absolutely standing up and in your creativity and really harnessing the gifts that every unique individual has. And it just so happened that for both me and you, that worked out that the two conscious media platforms that we're running, we were moving from being behind the laptop and not being seen to actually stepping up and actually speaking our truth, our experiences, and then making these documentaries about the process of that, which ended up with both of us being in front of the camera. Yeah, like we're doing right now.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've got a comment there from Anita Anna Elsang asking, can it help with PTSD?
Yeah, no, of course. It's one of the primary issues that drives people to shift towards the psychedelic plant medicines, mainly because we've seen that the Western medical model is not yet quite adept to be able to fully deal and heal with that, since it's more of a psychological route, a more spiritual route. And you'll see actually in the documentaries we interview doctors about this, and they explain how the plant medicine and the indigenous shamanic perspective is so much more better tooled to deal with PTSD, because it goes to the root of the trauma, shows the individual what was being experienced and now suppressed, and now causing flashbacks and all the other symptoms, and helps the individual process it, feel the emotion that was stuck there, and then be able to, in that process, heal it and move forwards with their lives. So absolutely, PTSD is a real killer in the modern civilization at the moment. And this is the antidote, which time and time again is healing people.
Yeah, definitely. And Wade had also chimed in with a comment asking, is DMT the same? So DMT is part of ayahuasca. It's a natural substance. It's produced in all of our pineal glands, and also in many plants and animals produce DMT, and it is a part of ayahuasca. But ayahuasca basically elongates the experience. So instead of having a short 10-minute DMT experience, you end up having a 5 or 6 or 7 hour journey with DMT in the DMT realm. So ayahuasca just prolongs it And obviously ayahuasca itself has like a spirit or a consciousness of its own, and it's very healing in nature. So I think when you have DMT inside an ayahuasca experience, it's very different to perhaps having DMT by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And someone just asked, what's the name of the documentaries, and where do we use the plant? So there's 2 documentaries. The first is called Awakening the Soul, and you can find that at awakeningthesoulfilm.com. And the second is Pantera.film. And they're 2 documentaries that we've worked on together with other editors. And this could be a good time actually to roll one of the trailers just to check it out, so we can show everyone quite exactly what we're talking about. So coming up now, we're going to play Awakening the Soul's trailer.
And to this moment, DMT is just the most amazing thing in the universe. I mean, it shouldn't exist.
Is actually trying to do the same thing that we're trying to do. The medicine's trying to show you who you become. It's trying to merge you back with your soul, and it's trying to heal your heart.
The plants have an intelligence, just like every living thing does. And the plants are here to try to show us how to be authentic and how to be our true nature and how to have harmony with the universe.
Disorders, whether that's disease, addiction, sadness, we believe is a result of a soul split. The place is dedicated to remerging.
A strong hit of it, which is in no way dangerous, but simply a true boundary dissolving hit, it's into some place. It's almost like, well, I once said, there's danger of death by astonishment.
And we're back. So that's the trailer for Awakening the Soul. Originally, when me and Sam met, the purpose of the documentary was actually going to be Sam documenting my journey on ayahuasca. But this was the first time that both of us had ever experienced plant medicine, and also one of the first times that we really dived deep into filmmaking. So it was very much a huge learning curve for both of us.
Yeah, massive.
So during that week, we didn't manage to get much filming done. And it really just blew us away, and we were so focused on the medicine and on integrating the medicine, understanding its teachings, and just trying to understand what was going on, that we didn't really get as much filming done. And with hindsight, this was now a kind of a gift, because this documentary has now just evolved and grown in size, and as opposed to documenting my journey, it's been much more broader. And I'll let you, in fact, explain further, Sam, because Sam has been the editor and the director of this documentary and working on it diligently for the last 12 months, so he can go into more about how it naturally evolved.
Yeah. So we originally planned to sort of do the following process of seeing you through the journey before, in the middle, and afterwards. We had all kinds of challenges pop up with visas and various issues and delays that came up, and just ended up sort of messing up the narrative essentially. But yeah, it was a blessing, because we came back and remade something that was more, we ended up going back to Rhythmia again, filming more, and now this is more of a holistic, wide view from both the Western medical perspective, the psychological perspective, and the shamanic perspective, and looks at it from a wider view. So it does have mine and Kasim's personal journeys in it, but it's less like following us and more gives you a universal look at some of the really deep and profound wisdom that's being shared from the shamans, from the plants, and from the people and philosophers that have been surrounded by the medicine. So I feel like it's a really quite heavy documentary in places, and it's just a different approach to most eye documentaries that are out there at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we're hoping the documentary is nearly completed, I think.
Yeah.
And this is the purpose of this podcast and this Facebook, is just to kind of educate people as to where to go. So I've left a comment in the links in the comments to the podcast. Sorry. lost my chain of thought here, Sam.
The film.
I've left the link to the film in the comments, and you can go there, you can subscribe, you can leave your email address, and you can get updates as to when the documentary will be released. We're hoping to release it on a couple of large platforms, as well as possibly even on this Facebook page, so just keep your eyes peeled for that. And I'm really looking forward to being able to release this documentary, because a lot of time and effort and work and soul has gone into this documentary. And we hope it will be used for years to come as a kind of a guiding tool for people, directing people to the medicine and to helping educate them as to the scientific benefits of it and the mental health benefits of it and all the healing that's surrounded by ayahuasca and the plant medicine itself.
Yeah, and so it's not just awakening the soul. We have a second documentary called Pantera, which is following Kasim's journey very closely, and is actually going to be more than just one episode. It has multiple episodes with multiple plant medicines involved too. So you really, by looks, are going to get to see a proper deep dive of putting yourself into the fire with these plant medicines, and people seeing a raw, authentic, up close and personal approach to the whole thing. So we could play the trailer for that as well.
Fire ahead,
Dive in and then we can talk about it. So here's Pantera.
I just let out the most heartbreaking scream I've ever heard myself ever do, and at the exact same time the thunder in the sky roared for me. It was nothing I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm just so overwhelmed. My body, I've got the shivers, I'm cold, and I'm just crying.
Speaking of it. It really changed my life, and I want to bring my girlfriend here to experience what I've experienced. I want to really get rid of my ego, because there's still been some bad habits that I've been, doing over and over, repeating.
Once you become in touch with nature, the nature of how you look at things has to change. It has no choice but to change.
Let it go. A lot of my demons are coming out of me.
Whoever enters here will feel the divine presence of goodness.
When you take ayahuasca, you vibrate at a certain frequency. Things that don't serve you basically leave or change, and people need to adapt almost to your frequency.
It's terrible to see yourself, especially if you have one idea of who you are, and then to have that completely ripped down. That's hard shit.
I've done lots of good things in my life, but I've done some things that I'm really not proud of.
What we can do is to be aware and mindful. It's a serious transformational work, and it can get dark at times, but again, you come out in light.
My passion is the truth. I want to search for answers. Sometimes you don't need to know the answers. You just need to be grateful, and that's enough.
There we go.
So that's the trailer to episode 1 of my documentary series called Pantera. It's really been a whirlwind of a journey for me and for Sam, and watching that back there just brought back so many memories. On this specific occasion, I took my partner Marie to visit an ayahuasca retreat, and Sam was there with his partner also at the time, and it's just beautiful to be able to watch back and to relive those memories, and to be able to one day show our kids and our grandkids, this pieces of film that we've created at such important times in our life. And I think by showcasing what we go through and being in the front line, it just really helps people to see what they're getting into. It really helps to maybe also build some trust, because we're practicing what we're preaching. We're really putting ourselves through some really tough situations and tough areas where we have to really overcome some seriously big obstacles in order to really grow. And by putting ourselves in the front line, we feel we're equipped to now pass on advice and offer support to other people. And so one of the real things that have been coming up for me and Sam lately has been how we feel drawn to help guide people towards the medicine, help them guide them through it, and also offer them as much support as we can afterwards as well, because integration is such an important part to the medicine. Me and Sam feel very, very strongly about that. So these documentaries are hopefully going to be tools that will help people understand more about the medicine, maybe help to prepare for the medicine, help them to integrate the medicine. But me and Sam also want to offer support to anyone who's done it as well and who wants to do it. So If any of you feel inspired by what you've seen today, and if any of you want to contact us directly, if you're thinking about doing the medicine, or maybe you've already done the medicine and you're looking for support, please feel free to reach out, message the page at both Live, Learn, Evolve or Educate, Inspire, Change. We're on Facebook, we're also on Instagram, and we'd be more than happy to offer our guidance and support as much as we can.
Yeah, for sure. So any questions that are popping up now that come to mind, please come through with them. We're here to answer them. And yeah, it just seems like that we're at such a liminal, strange time in the world right now with everything that's going on. COVID and climate, and everyone knows the full story by now because you've been in quarantine reading about it. But yeah, a lot of people are turning to psychedelics or feeling that they need healing, and these quarantines can force us into a position where, you know, if you can't go outside, you have to go inside, and you know, stuff's coming to the surface for people like it does when you're trapped inside a house. And you know, no doubt so many of you, I know I have been triggered on a daily by things that are sort of yeah, just causing me to feel super uncomfortable, behavior that I sort of don't want to keep anymore. And it's all really coming to the surface. And me and Kash have talked about this in other lives, but it seems so obvious that the key is overall an imbalance with nature, with what we are. We tend to separate human nature and nature as if it's something completely separate, but that seems to be like a semantic division that we've made from nature, and we then think that it's separate from us. But you know, actually what happens when you indulge any of these plant medicines, whether it's just, you know, the ones that are all naturally growing in the ground, where it's mushrooms or ayahuasca or iboga or whatever it is, the same lessons come through all the time, and it is to get back into alignment, to make space to be in alignment with nature if we're not already. And so that can be difficult, especially in modern civilized lives, you know, with jobs and responsibilities and everything. And so it can be good to have some accountability for that. So we're sort of shifting into that realm where we can offer accountability and guidance on it. And yeah, just as Kash said, feel free to message anything that might come up for you if you feel called to it.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. I just want to give a shout out to some people who are commenting. Thank you, Wade. I appreciate your comments. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Mark, for signing up as well. I hope you really do enjoy. And Mark just wrote there, did you feel like you were connected to every living thing? I think, yeah, we can both probably answer the same answer to that, that the feeling you get when you do ayahuasca or any plant medicine is extreme connectedness to everything, to all living things, to the planet, to each other, to yourself, to your soul, to animals and plants. I mean, maybe you can talk more about this, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea that there's other things even just dissolves. So you just become a part of this impermanent, ever-changing life force which is animating everything, the rainforest that you're surrounded by, the animals, the plants, the people. You start to see that this is all happening and everything is connected to that happening. It's the idea that there's separate people and insects and objects sort of dissolves, and you end up being in that awareness. There's like a good analogy which I don't have right now, but we sort of tend to look at things as separate. But I find that on the medicine and often afterwards, and you can get this just by meditating, by the way. It's not that this is only accessible through psychedelics. All it is a way to really get in alignment with what you are essentially. So meditation can do that. It just seems to, in my experience, it seems to take longer. But the idea is like, if I had a sheet of paper right now and Kasim was here and I was here, the sheet would show that it's one piece of fabric that connects both. And so you end up being the piece of fabric rather than sort of stuck in your mind where you're dividing everything up into external separate things.
Yeah, well put, Sam. So a couple more comments from Metty and Charmaine as well. I'm glad everything we're saying really resonates with you, Meti. I appreciate your support on the page, and thank you for the comment. He's asking, how do I best prepare for the experience to make the best of it? And also Charmaine's asking, how does one begin the journey? So I think they're quite a loaded question, but I would say certainly from my experience, if you feel called to do the medicine, then this naturally is going to be your instinct to start doing some research. So I recommend that you do as much research as possible. Read any books that call out to you, check out some documentaries, follow some podcasts, reach out to people like me and Sam and just ask us for our advice, ask for recommendations. When you're choosing a medicine, I would look at your own life, look at where you are, and then learn about the plants and just see what resonates best with you. For example, iboga, which is a medicine I journeyed with last year, is a very, very powerful masculine energy plant, and very many people who suffer from extreme chronic illnesses or perhaps serious addictions, things that cause serious physical pain as well, iboga would often be the plant of choice for these kinds of people. It's also a very useful plant, I think, for people that simply want to understand themselves and the universe better. It's a very inward journey you can go on, and you can really deep dive into your own psyche, your own psychology, and also people can want to find out answers about the universe and reality, and iboga seems to be a great plant of choice for these kind of experiences. Ayahuasca is ayahuasca herself. I say that because ayahuasca is treated as Mother Ayahuasca. It's almost like Mother Earth, and people who want to really feel connected to the planet, to themselves, to reconnect to their souls, perhaps overcome serious trauma, anxiety, depression, mental illness. People who want to deal with these kind of issues will often turn to ayahuasca. So that's just an example. I could talk much longer. We could talk about mushrooms, we could talk about San Pedro, Cambo, but these are all different types of medicines that Mother Earth has gifted us with. And again, this is why it's so important to do your research, because there's so many medicines and there's so many different types of issues that we're all battling with, and I really feel it's worthwhile putting that little bit of extra time and research into investigating these medicines and really trying to understand and feel what calls you the most. Anything else to add to that?
Yeah, no, I feel that. I don't have much else to add, no.
Yeah.
I feel like, nature is the antidote. It's provided all this stuff growing beneath our feet already. We're just overlooking it for some reason. And, as we learnt from interviewing the shamans and the doctors, it was new to me, but that, Western pharmaceuticals are based on the plants already. They're just synthesized plants into pills, and then they're, altered and tested in laboratories.
Yeah.
But, as Dr. Jeff said in Awakening the Soul, when we synthesize these pharmaceuticals, we take the spirit of the plant out, and now we're consuming these very useful pharmaceuticals in many ways. But when it comes down to, like Kash said, the deeper healing and traumas and stuff, it can be really useful to have a conversation with Mother Earth about what you're dealing with. Out of anyone that I ever wanted as a psychiatrist or psychologist, it turns out that Mother Earth is a really bloody good one. And it was for me and many others.
Yeah.
And, and not just a psychologist, but, a library, a healer, a friend, a home. And I really felt like coming out of these medicine journeys, I could put my feet back on the grass and was like, Earth is home now. This makes sense.
Exactly. And something else I want to touch on as well is when you, for many of you listening to this right now, you might just now be feeling called to do the medicine, and the minute that you make it's almost like you sign a soul contract between yourself and your soul, and you're agreeing to do the medicine. From that moment forth, the medicine starts to work in you. And when I agreed to do ayahuasca, I immediately started taking better care of my diet. I immediately started to pay more attention to just how I was living my life. I started to live more mindfully, and mindfully meaning what kind of media was I consuming, what kind of food am I eating, what kind of people am I engaging with, what kind of environments am I putting myself in. So all of this can help you to best prepare for your medicine journey. And the more attention that you can put into being mindful and living mindfully, I think the better your experience will be. Sam is a good example of this. Sam last year practiced, I think, over 1,000 hours of yoga, and he's meditating. And I myself came from a less mindful background. I was living in Glasgow, surrounded by perhaps more of a negative vibrational environment. I wasn't practicing mindfulness much, and I could really, this was highlighted during our medicine journeys, because me and Sam sat next to each other for all of our journeys that we've done together, and you could see the difference, to be honest. For many nights, I was having really hard times. I was really struggling to come to terms with the experience. I was struggling to find ways to relax myself so that I could really best surrender and take on the teachings of this medicine and really relax. Whereas Sam, to his credit, was able to really breathe and practice meditation and just be at peace during his medicine journeys. And I think this was a good example. It taught me a lot. Sam was like a mirror for me. It showed me what wasn't right in myself, you know, and how and how I could learn from Sam. And I just learned by watching him, and throughout the journey he would constantly be a source of calmness for me. Just by looking at him and watching him, I'd be like if you can do this, and I can do this. So I just try to breathe and relax. And now over the months I'm doing more medicine, I became more equipped at breathing and relaxing, but still it can be overwhelming. And I would say that's a very valuable tool I learned from Sam and from the medicine, just to be very mindful and practice your breathing and try to sit still, because during an ayahuasca journey you can be so overwhelmed, your senses are all going crazy and you don't know what's going on, and you can spend so much time just feeling overwhelmed and crazy. And the trick is to become the observer. The trick is to really look at yourself, look at how you're behaving, and to try to calm that behavior down, and almost look at yourself as if from third person point of view, you know. And this is something that all people who meditate will know a lot about. And this is a really good piece of advice that I wish I had perhaps before I started, but you know, I learned it the hard way.
Yeah, and it's not just you, Kash, as well. I'm seeing it in myself, and I see it all over the world right now. It's why I'm here on camera advocating that it's worth taking these natural psychedelics for us to heal and move forward, because overall the civilization and society has literally cut us off so deeply from nature that, you know, you sitting there talking about, you know, reminding that we should be connected to our breath, and, you know, that we should eat clean food and that we should be in alignment with nature. It's like this is now becoming like a profound thing to us, and yet it's so simple. Like, how did we get so lost that we find it strange to now eat something that comes out of the ground that then gives us this healing experience? Like, now to me, I mean, I don't know how far along I am, but it's so simple, it's so obvious. Like that, yeah, if we're walking around with shoes on all the time and socks on all the time, we're not connected to the ground. Could that lead to a disconnection with nature, both internal and external? Absolutely. Like, that's what it was for me. But I didn't have the awareness for that to even come into my thoughts. In fact, it would be the opposite. If someone said, no, you need to get your feet on the grass 15 minutes a day, it's so important for you to feel grounded, I'd be like, yeah, no, this is just like this guy's new age crap. I can't feel it. I don't understand what you're talking about. You know, it just sounds like shit. Like, obviously I need to go to the doctor because I'm ill. But actually, getting the feet on the grass 15 minutes every day was like one of the most healing things I ever incorporated into my lifestyle. Like, because I was out of balance. Maybe it's different. You know, people live in different environments. Maybe they do have a back garden they're in all the time. But many of us are in these like urban concrete matrix situations where we're getting in cars, driving to work, coming back to our flat that's in a city. There's little nature. If we do go in nature, we're wearing shoes. You know, it's like mad. And I watched a documentary the other day, actually, and a guy went to a native Indian community and walked into one of the setups. And as he walked in, he kept his shoes on. And one of the elders said, no, take your shoes off, because they'll make you sick if you wear them all the time. And, you know, that was just the normal thing. I heard that and I was like, wow, that makes sense, because it worked for me. You know, and that's just one modality in the ways in which we're disconnected from nature. But yeah, to me, it's all coming back to not learning new techniques, but remembering what it was to be in tune with nature again.
And I know you read a lot of books, Sam, and Mark James is asking if you can recommend any books before going, maybe about the plants and the benefits, etc.
Can you recommend any books maybe about plants? Yeah, there's a bunch of really good books on ayahuasca you can find online. There's one simply called Ayahuasca, Spirit of the Vine, which I read while making the documentary, and that was a ethnobotanist's view on the whole setup. So it was scientific, and also had his like takeaways from shamans as well. So it was a really balanced perspective. It was nice. For something more esoteric, that's like, to be honest, so far out that it sat on my bookshelf for like 3 years before I read it, is a book called Cosmic Serpent, and that's about the symbology and underlying connections between DNA and the serpents and the ayahuasca vine, and it's just off the rails, to be honest, so I recommend that too.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a book called When Plants Dream that I haven't made my way through yet, but I have read a little bit of it, and it looks like an amazing read. So When Plants Dream is another good recommendation.
Yeah, great book by Daniel Pinchbeck and Sophie there. Real deep diving into some really difficult topics on the medicine, and yeah, another one, highly recommend that.
Beautiful.
Great book.
I just want to say congratulations to Rick as well. He's won a scholarship to Rhythmia, so he plans to have his first ayahuasca session. Rick, myself and Sam are going to be working with Rhythmia. We're in Costa Rica just now, and that's why we're here. So when you come down, we look forward to catching up with you, and we'd love to help you and guide you through your journey. And even if we can help you with some integration, we'd be more than honoured to do that. So we look forward to catching up with you soon, Rick. Yeah. We're getting loads of comments here, Sam. Robert Sharkey saying he also felt that life was all connected, all in the same thread, if you like, but he also had an overwhelming sense that everything living is a co-creator of this reality. It's quite an interesting one there, how thoughts create reality and consciousness, what even is consciousness, and we could deep dive into that, I imagine, but there's a lot there, really.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's huge, it's huge.
Yeah.
I've wavered many times between like, no, like don't be so like naive or big-headed and egoic to think that you can alter reality by yourself, like with such small things in an infinitely large universe. To the other side of like, wow, these opportunities and things that are popping up in our life could only be because we're aiming and orienting towards them. So of course we're creating it. You know, I would just say, don't listen to anyone's perspective on it. Like, just try it out for yourself. Like, try living 1 week in a reality where the specific goal you're looking for is already happening. Not that you want it to happen, but that you're already moving towards it. And just see if stuff pops up, because in my experience it does. And I believe that, in my opinion, the perspective of whether or not, because you're focusing on something, you're then just paying more attention to it. And so these new agers are like fooling themselves because, you know, they're just paying more attention to it. It's in their minds. Or from the new age perspective that you are literally moving atoms and shifting the underlying substructure of reality to manifest stuff. I think they're both lenses which come from different angles. You've got the psychological lens, the new age lens, there's also scientific lens and many others. But these are all lenses. They're just like, you know, they're models to interpret a reality that is far more greater, more complex, more vast than a small human's nervous system can try and grasp and comprehend, you know. So play with it, test with it, be playful, you know. My advice would be to not believe in anything, but just to dive in and try it for yourself, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And if talking about Rhythmia as well, if anybody is thinking about visiting Rhythmia or doing ayahuasca for the first time, Rhythmia itself is the first medically licensed retreat in Costa Rica, and we highly recommend it. And if any of you are interested in going to Rhythmia, again, feel free to message myself or Sam. We can assist you in going and hopefully help you on your journey there. And we'd love to do that, and it'd be an honour to us. Thanks, Mehdi, for your comment. Anita as well, thank you for your comments as well. If anyone else has any questions, please let us know. I see Declan saying that nature and meditation can do this for you as well.
Absolutely.
100% agree. I would also argue that ayahuasca itself essentially is a concentrated drop of nature. So, I mean, yes, being in nature, meditation, yoga, mindfulness, ayahuasca, to me, it's all under the same kind of umbrella, you know? It just depends about your perception of it. Some people can misconceive ayahuasca and maybe classify it as separate from nature or think it's a drug or something, but I would argue ayahuasca is about as much into nature as you can go. It's just really diving deep into what Mother Earth actually is and into the core of Mother Earth. So it just depends how you perceive that. What would you think about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm aware that it's that like sitting here and talking to people about psychedelics and why we should take this drug and try this out is might make people skeptical, right, of certain things, and I would be too. But I always tend to make the differentiation between psychedelic organic compounds that grow in the ground and have for tens of millions of years propagated throughout nature naturally, you know, like DMT, which is the main ingredient inside ayahuasca, is in over 95% of plants already, and it's endogenous, so it's in the human body as well. You're literally carrying a class 1 schedule A drug in you right now, but because us humans are not fully able to comprehend it yet, for whatever reason, we've prohibited it from being consumed. While we consume other drugs like nicotine, caffeine, alcohol, which are killing millions of people a year, and that's just not the case for these natural psychedelics. You know, there are real dangers, but they're not killing people, and that just appears obvious to me. But yeah, rightfully, anyone who's listening to this, be skeptical and look into it, because we've been fooled, in my opinion, about how we look at what is a drug and what isn't a drug, and what we consume and what we don't consume. You know, in the UK, I can go and pick up a magic mushroom and get in a lot of trouble with the police, but I can pick up the mushroom next to it that if I consume it kills me in 35 minutes. And that's not illegal, you know. So why do they make the ones that make people expand their consciousness and have deeper perspectives of things illegal, but the other one that can genuinely kill me in no time is illegal? It is legal, sorry, to pick. So, you know, there's a lot of strange ways in which we orient around this, and it's worth deep diving. So if anyone has any questions about that or what further things, please shout it out, because this is a very, very important topic.
Yeah, 100%. Agree with that. So yeah, thank you again for all your comments. I really appreciate all the support. This has been a great live. Is there anything else you want to touch on, Sam? Before we sign off, if there's any more comments, we're more than happy to sit here and answer as much as we can. We're just very eager, I think, to introduce the medicine to people for the first time and to help people to understand it better, to educate them on it, and to obviously help them to prepare and integrate, all that kind of stuff. So we're here for you as much as you need us. We're going to be doing these lives also more regularly. I think maybe every day or every second day. We'd love to hop on and just engage with you people. Me and Sam are also going to be working on some other projects, maybe creating some kind of course where we can really assist people on personal growth and overcoming fears, on perhaps even growing their own businesses or conscious businesses, because myself and Sam are currently shifting from having our businesses and creating much more conscious-minded businesses, which is one of the reasons why we're here in Costa Rica, is just to live much more mindfully, live much more in tune with nature, much more to our true path. And maybe that's something we can actually talk about, Sam, is how we feel it's so important. I know I can talk for myself, and I know you feel the same, Sam, is when you find your true purpose and you find your true calling and you're living your truth, everything then falls into place. Only then, when you're doing what you're here to do, I feel, can you really grow and and truly be happy, I think. Because there's many people out there who have money, who have jobs, who are in great relationships, but they're maybe not living their true purpose. They're maybe not really understanding themselves well enough so that they can do what they love. Even people don't know. I mean, we're brought up and we're raised with so many walls around us. As children, we're often having the creativity pummeled out of us. Some people never really found out what they're here to do. There are so many, I can imagine so many great musicians, so many great artists, so many great poets, so many great scientists or inventors that are out there that ended up becoming accountants or ended up becoming mechanics or factory workers, or they never really understood why they're here, their true calling. And that's one of the things this medicine can do for you as well, is it can really just point you in that direction and show you who you are, show you why you're here. And you can't really truly be happy until you start living your truth. And I feel strongly about this, Sam, do you?
Yeah. And I don't believe that you wouldn't end up being any of those jobs necessarily. It just ends up being that the job that you do, the career that you take, the purpose that you then step into is one of uncompromising authenticity. It's just literally you showing up and being yourself. I'm seeing time and time again, there's conscious entrepreneurs everywhere at the moment that are just like building businesses and services and offerings to people that did not exist 5 years ago. They like weren't even on the map, and they are thriving. Like just stuff that I just couldn't even imagine before, you know? And so, yeah, there's a real need right now actually for those conscious entrepreneurs to step up as well and do things that are radically different, because otherwise, if we don't sort of act out our own authentic plan, which might not be obvious straight away, but you know, following your inspiration, it will always come to you. If we don't do that, then yeah, we'll end up getting boxed in and taking on roles and masks that put us in positions where we're not fully being ourselves, and so we're not enjoying it. You know, it doesn't mean that you don't do something within society of playing a role of, you know, being a vet or even just working in a retail shop or something. Like everyone has their own specific path that really resonates with them. It's not to push any of this aside. It's just to say that in our experience, and also through meditation and connecting with nature, you come face to face with the responsibility to fully step into your essential nature, your skill set, your power, your creativity, your essence, and follow that in an uncompromising manner to its end, even if you don't know what's coming next. Yeah, and that's what it's ended up doing for us, and it's mind blowing.
Definitely. Yeah, and me and Sam feel called just to help people on their journey. You know, like if you're out there and you have a brand, or you're looking to consciously align with other brands, please reach out to us as well, because both myself and Sam are in that stage and frame of mind right now where we're looking to just collaborate, I think, in the spirit of collaboration, just work with people and grow together. And like me and Sam are also long-term thinking about having our own communities and just growing and living together, and you know, and being connected and having collaboration. And I used this analogy actually earlier this afternoon. Me and Sam were talking, and if you can imagine like an average street on your local suburb area wherever you live, there's like 10 houses in a row. All those 10 houses, they all own like 1 or 2 cars. They all have at least a lawnmower each. They all have a set of tools each. They all have a ladder each. Now, can you just imagine if those 10 houses, if all the families decided to just get together once a week and have a meeting and sit and have dinner, and they only needed to have like 2 or 3 cars between 10 houses. They only needed to have perhaps 1 lawnmower or 2 lawnmowers and 1 set of ladders. They could all share and just collaborate and unite and work together. I guarantee you they wouldn't be stressing over bills. They wouldn't be stressing over car payments and bill payments. They could just be working together harmoniously and knowing that they're looking after each other and living together, and they can leave their doors unlocked. And this to me is an ideal example of how I would like to live and how I would like my kids to live, you know. And so this can also be transferred over to business and work as well. Just imagine if business owners all worked together and collaborated and supported each other, provided each other help. And one business could cook for one business and provide lunches, and the other business could help manage the electricity or whatever, you know. Just there's so many ways we could work together, and that's the future of the world for me. That's the future of how we should live consciously, mindfully, both in our personal lives and in our business lives. And the only way we can do this is together. So more of us that actually, if there's some people out there listening to this and you may be thinking about messaging us, you may be thinking about contacting us, don't think, just do it. Just act on your impulse, and who knows what will come of it. You know, if nothing comes of it, great. If something comes of it, then much, you know, fantastic. something my dad used to say to me is when you're looking at a scenario, think about what's the best case scenario and what's the worst case scenario. So the best case scenario could be, working together, growing together, and the worst case scenario is nothing happens. Take the risk, I think is what I'm getting at, is if there's something in your life that you want to do and you're perhaps just a bit scared, perhaps your ego is telling you excuses as why not to take the risk, why not to move abroad, or why not to do something you love. Just focus on what your soul's telling you. Take that risk and just try to live your truth.
Yeah, I feel that.
Thank you. So yeah, I hope that resonates with some of you out there, and I'm really looking forward to engaging with you guys more often. Just reading through some of your comments here. Charmaine, the documentaries haven't been released yet, but you can watch the trailers. We've left the links in the comments. You can just scroll back up and check them out. If you have any trouble, again, feel free to message the page and we will send you them directly. And I'm hoping in the next matter of weeks, these documentaries will be released for you guys to watch. And just keep tuning into our Facebook Lives and our podcast, and you'll find out more. Hi, Crystal. Thank you for your comment. She says, what you're saying is human nature. We've been trained to disconnect. Thank you for this. Thank you again. I can feel your connection. I can feel your love. And it's just about feeling connected. When we're walking down the street, the problem with society today is we feel separated from everyone, when in fact there is so much more that connects us than divides us. People look at race, they look at culture, they look at colour of our skin, they look at religion, and they feel division. Whereas I don't see that. I look at another human and I just see myself in them. And when we can start to see ourselves in others and just start to love everyone for who they are and see what connects us instead of what separates us, there'll be a huge shift in the energy in this planet. And that's a big thing to me. When you look at other people, just look at what connects you, don't look at what separates you, because it's almost like a human impulse to see, this tribal thing where you're from there, I'm from here, and we're separate, but in fact we're not separate. These borders have been designed by man to separate us, and they're fake borders. They don't really exist. We're the only species on this planet that actually pays rent to live on this planet. No other species does that, and it's just a human condition, and we need to get out of this separateness and back to this feeling of connected to everything. And these plants are great at doing that as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge shift when you're moving from seeing people on the superficial level of the differential ways that they look and they act and whatever, and look more at the essential life force that's being shared there, what we are really, the fact that there's this in the moment and there's life there and life there and life. That is essentially what we are, the awareness, the consciousness that is animating everything in front of us, including the plants and the insects. And the whole practice for me in doing these lives and exploring the plant medicine and exploring the philosophy and the different, even ancient religious texts too, is realizing that they're all in some degree pointing to this same universal, unspeakable thing, which is consciousness and awareness, which is here and shared by all beings. And the more in which we anchor into our own essential nature, more than we're have our attention focused on the inner thoughts and narrative, then we'll be more in alignment with what we are. I always see it as I'm trying to be more in the space between the words and the thoughts than I am being in relationship to the thoughts and the ways in which my mind is dividing and separating things. It's all necessary. It's just that you can so get lost in that, and then you think everything is divided because you're living in division, and that's just, it's really simple to see that.
100%. So if any of you guys have enjoyed this conversation, there's many more conscious conversations. You can check out my podcast, which is Educate, Inspire, Change with Kash Khan, and it's available on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. Sam is now going to be much more regularly on these lives. He's going to be a co-host with me. We're working together now, and I'm really looking forward to me and Sam deep diving together, and also deep diving with other guests together. And we're really excited to start this journey together and just do more lives, engage with you guys. So please make sure you subscribe, share this live if it resonates with you, show some love in the comments, and feel free to reach out to us individually. Sam, you have an Instagram handle as well. Do you want to let everyone know how they can find you on Instagram?
Sure, yeah, it's at Wizard of Zen.
Awesome. And you can connect with me directly on Instagram at Conscious Kash. That's Kash with a K, K-A-S-H. It's been a pleasure having you guys on board and on the live today. I've enjoyed reading your comments. I've really enjoyed talking with you too, Sam. and looking forward to coming on again in the next day or two.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kash. We'll speak in 24 hours.
Yeah, cool, man.